This year, WNBA players have gotten exactly what they wanted. Caitlin Clark has essentially missed the entire season, and the WNBA has suffered the consequences.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, she's out for 3 more weeks. Several.
The WNBA didn't just find a star, they bet the entire house on her. They pushed all their chips to the center of the table, going all in on one player, Caitlin Clark, convinced she was the messianic talent who would single-handedly resurrect the league and carry it into a new stratosphere of relevance and profitability.
Fortunately, I'm starting to get this gut feeling that we might not even see Caitlin back on the court this season, and that might actually...
For a dazzling, electrifying moment, the gamble looked like the most brilliant move in sports history. Ratings shattered records, arenas sold out, and for the first time, the WNBA was not just a topic of conversation, but a cultural phenomenon.
Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court, and just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
But now, with their Golden Goose grounded by a deeply concerning and persistent string of injuries, the entire foundation is showing catastrophic cracks. The deafening hype has been replaced by a terrifying silence, and a single chilling question is echoing from the league's boardrooms to the anxious fans in the cheap seats. What happens when the one player you bet everything on is broken?
No return to practice. She's been able to get a little bit more in her full court running, with her all of her body weight. It's really building up from doing minimal to then building some endurance to do longer periods of time. She's been able to do a little bit more on the court in terms of how she moves.
The most alarming signal of this full-blown crisis is the carefully chosen yet utterly transparent language coming from the Indiana Fever's leadership. Head coach Stephanie White has been giving the kind of updates that send a tsunami of dread through a fan base.
But not into practice yet.
Now, not into practice yet. That is obviously a negative as far as how soon Caitlin Clark will be back, because she will be in practice before she returns to the court. I would guess at least a few practices before she returns to the floor.
When pressed for specifics on Clark's return, the answers are a masterclass in panicked corporate speak, a repeating loop of non-answers. No timetable, we're taking it day by day, and we're being cautious.
This is what the Indiana Fever organization has been doing way too much. They dangle Caitlin Clark like a carrot, and we're all rabbits trying to get it.
In the high-stakes world of professional sports, this isn't cautious optimism. It's a blaring air raid siren. It's the kind of vague terminology reserved for injuries that are far more complex and unpredictable than anyone is willing to publicly admit.
And then last minute, they'll let you know, oh, hey, Caitlin Clark's not available. Midday or something like that while everybody's traveling to get to the arena. Then you get to the arena, she ain't there.
White's recent comments about focusing on Clark's long-term health and waiting until she is unequivocally 100% might sound noble, but they are exactly what a team says when it is trying to brace its audience for the worst-case scenario.
I'm wondering, why did the Indiana Fever and Stephanie White decide not to come out and say, hey, she's not practicing. She's not going to be playing in this game.
This isn't about missing another week or two. This is about preparing for a reality where the franchise player's absence could stretch for many more weeks, or even consign the rest of this once promising season to the history books.
And this is why I've got a problem, because there's gambling implications here. All right? There's gambling implications, and there's the implications of we've got a nationally televised game on ESPN. We want to sell as many tickets as possible. And by the way, charge the most money we can get gate revenue, yada, yada, yada.
If you need any more proof of the sheer panic gripping the Fever's front office, look no further than their emergency roster moves. On August 10th, the team made a telling transaction, signing 33-year-old veteran guard Odyssey Sims to an emergency, quote, hardship contract. This wasn't a strategic move to add a little veteran depth for the playoffs. This was a desperate, last-ditch effort to simply stay afloat.
Can't wait until Caitlin Clark is back. She's the most dynamic, electric player in the WNBA. Drake, great job, Lexi. Scott said, have patience. at least several more weeks. Now, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa.
A hardship exception is a tool of last resort in professional basketball, granted by the league only when a team is so utterly depleted by injuries that it cannot physically field a full and competitive roster. With 2 other key guards already declared out for the season, the Fever were in undeniable crisis mode. Signing a journeyman player on a temporary emergency deal isn't a plan for a quick return of your superstar. It is a frantic patch on a sinking ship, a clear and public admission that the team's internal assessment is grim.
Maybe it's just me, but there seems to be a massive decline in mainstream interest in the WNBA this season. Last year, there were so many stories in the WNBA, it was hard to keep up.
It signals that they believe Clark's absence won't be a brief intermission, but a long, dark, and uncertain new chapter.
Over the past couple of weeks, outside of Airborne Wiener, there's really been nothing to talk about. Think about it. What is the biggest storyline right now?
The financial fallout from Clark's absence has been nothing short of an economic apocalypse for the league. The numbers don't just tell a story, they scream a terrifying truth about the WNBA's fragile economic model. When Clark was first sidelined with a quad strain earlier in the season, the viewership for nationally televised WNBA games plummeted by an astonishing 55%. The Fever's games on major networks saw their average audience brutally cut by more than half, dropping from over 1.8 million captivated viewers to just 847,000.
Being active and playing 4 games and then not, and like not feeling the best, and then like frustrated of like how hard I worked in the off season, and then like all I do is rehab and like continue to do this process and just like trying to trust that the best I can. And obviously there's really frustrating days, and there's days where like it's a little bit easier and like you're very, very motivated and like you're close to the finish line of getting back and being back. And then like, it's not like I have a training camp to like build up to like playing my first game again. It's like, no, like you're tossed into game 30, like go try to play well. Like it's hard. Like
the devastation at the box office has been just as severe. Across the entire league, the average ticket price for a WNBA game jumps by an incredible 152% when Caitlin Clark is scheduled to be in the building. For some teams, the quote, Clark tax is even more extreme. Tickets for the Connecticut Sun, for instance, leap by a staggering 310% for a game against the Fever.
The Indiana Fever go out and pick up Odyssey Sims, a former second-team All-WNBA player, somebody who just as recently as June 1st this season dropped 32 points on the Phoenix Mercury.
Without her on the court, that inflated market has utterly collapsed. Reports flooded social media of tickets in major markets once listed for over $40 being sold for single-digit prices, sometimes as low as $6. This isn't just a market correction, it's a complete economic implosion that exposes a fatal systemic dependency on a single 23-year-old athlete.
What's going on in Indiana is that I feel like a lot of these people in the front office, a lot of these people up in Indy for the Fever do not care for Caitlin Clark for whatever reason. You know, Scott Atkins could be one of them. I'm not saying that he is, but it's looking like he don't care for Caitlin Clark.
This crisis is not contained to the city of Indianapolis. It's a league-wide catastrophe that has sent shockwaves through every franchise. In a move of unprecedented ambition, multiple WNBA teams, including the powerhouse Las Vegas Aces and the Washington Mystics, made the monumental decision to move their home games against the Fever from their standard, smaller arenas to massive NBA stadiums. They were betting on a historic flood of fans eager to witness the Clark phenomenon in person. Now, they face the deeply humiliating and financially ruinous prospect of playing in half-empty 20,000-seat venues, a visual testament to their colossal miscalculation.
We know clear as day that Stephanie White has been looking in certain areas not to be feeling the Caitlin Clark effect. I don't know, but this stuff is definitely looking concerning because it's showing us that could there be more to her injury and they're not being transparent.
The problem was laid bare for the entire world to see at the 2025 All-Star Game.
with Clark, who had been voted a team captain by the fans, forced to withdraw due to her groin injury just days before the event. The game's viewership completely cratered. It drew only 2.19 million viewers, a jaw-dropping 36% drop from the record 3.44 million who had tuned in the previous year when she was the star of the show.
I mean, it's not my first time just coming to a new team and coming in and just being me. The biggest thing is just doing what I do best. Playing defense, playing hard, doing whatever the team needs. Obviously, I know they've been down with the injuries. Prayers up for Sid and Ari. Love them both. But like I said, I'm excited to be here, and I'm not going to do too much. But whatever coach tells me to do, so I'm going to do and have fun and enjoy my teammate.
This wasn't just a statistical blip. It was the result of a terrifying litmus test that the league failed in spectacular fashion, proving that the WNBA's explosive growth wasn't about the league itself, but was almost entirely about her. If you have a clery of her places, there's no things that you have to do. Perhaps the most bitter and ironic twist in this entire saga is the one unfolding in the locker rooms across the league.
And that's why Caitlin Clark is so great, because Caitlin Clark is the magnet. She's the magnet, the needle. I'll say magnet in this case. She draws a big audience. And with that big audience, you learn about the other teams by watching the Fever.
For the first few months of the season, Caitlin Clark endured a level of on-court physicality and off-court shade that was shocking to many observers. Basketball legends like Charles Barkley and Bob Cousy called it out for what it was, accusing veteran players of acting out of petty jealousy and resentment toward the rookie who was instantly receiving more attention than they had in their entire careers.
And since they play each other so many times, and there's only 12 other teams they play, why do I have to watch the other teams for? Seriously, why? I don't find the other teams that interesting.
But now, a harsh and unavoidable reality is settling in. Those same players who seem so determined to haze or humble the young star are now watching their arena crowds evaporate and their precious national television opportunities dwindle. They are being forced to confront the uncomfortable and deeply humbling truth that their newfound relevance, their bigger paychecks, and their long-awaited moment in the mainstream spotlight are all directly and inextricably tied to the health and success of the very player they appeared so eager to tear down. The jealousy has backfired in the most spectacular and financially punishing way imaginable.
Caitlin Clark should not be thrown back into any mix if she doesn't have significant practices under her belt before she goes into game speed. You can try to simulate game speed as much as you want in practice. You will never be able to. Game speed is game speed. There's also a lot more adrenaline, all of these different things pumping when you're playing.
Lost in the swirling chaos of plunging ticket prices and dismal TV ratings is the profound human toll this ordeal is taking on Caitlin Clark herself. After a legendary quote-unquote Iron Woman career at the University of Iowa, where she never missed a single game due to injury, this relentless string of physical breakdowns is a brutal and psychologically taxing new reality. Her frustration and the immense weight on her shoulders were palpable during a recent podcast appearance with WNBA icon Sue Bird. "I've never been through anything like this," she admitted, her voice heavy with the strain of constant, grueling rehab. More telling, she spoke of feeling an immense responsibility to force herself onto the court for the thousands of fans who spend their hard-earned money and plan their family vacations around seeing her play. The pressure from the league, the team, and the fans became so overwhelming that she revealed her own mother had to intervene, sending her a text message with a heartbreaking but necessary dose of reality. "You've taken so much time for everybody else. You need to take time for yourself now." It was a poignant reminder that at the center of this billion-dollar business strategy is a young woman whose body and spirit are being pushed to the breaking point.
If I'm their coach, she needs to practice for at minimum a week. At the minimum, she needs to be doing everything in practice for at least a week before you throw her back in the mix.
This entire situation raises the most uncomfortable and damning question of all. Did the WNBA, in its gold rush-like frenzy, fundamentally break its most valuable asset? The pattern of injury is too alarming to be dismissed as simple bad luck. After playing every single game through high school, a demanding college career, and her entire rookie pro season, Clark has suffered 4 separate and significant soft tissue injuries in her sophomore year alone. A lower leg issue, a left quad strain, a left groin strain, and now a right groin injury. This isn't just a fluke, it's a clear symptom of an athlete being pushed dangerously beyond their physical limits. The nonstop calendar she has endured since her final college season, a deep NCAA tournament run, the hype of the WNBA draft, an immediate preseason, a full regular season, Olympic buzz, and then another grueling season, created a perfect storm for physical breakdown. It's a compelling case that the league and the Fever, blinded by the dazzling dollar signs of the Caitlin Clark effect, may have sacrificed their star's long-term health for short-term gain, riding their golden goose until her body simply gave out.
Like, Stephanie White was saying that she's not done anything with the team. Like, she's not even shooting around with the team. Like, as much as we're hearing certain things, I just don't know. I don't know. Like, let's just say several more weeks. Let's just say, for argument's sake, she's out for 3 more weeks. Several.
The WNBA is now staring into an existential abyss of its own making. In a desperate bid for mainstream relevance, the league hitched its entire future to a single, transcendent star, and now that star is showing terrifying signs of burning out far too soon. Without her, the impressive growth numbers have been exposed as a fragile illusion. The sold-out arenas are becoming quiet again, and the mainstream buzz is threatening to fade back into the niche corners of the sports world. The panic rippling through the league is real because the stakes are catastrophically high. Everyone is left to wonder if their massive bet will ever pay off, or if it will ultimately destroy everything they've spent years trying to build. The biggest question is no longer when Caitlin Clark will return, but a far more chilling one. If the Caitlin Clark era, the one that promised to save the WNBA, might be over before it ever had a chance to truly begin.